Hey there, Parker Reed here, and welcome to PR Media, your home for everything movies and music through my eyes. And today we're going to be taking a look at the 4K genre, the 4K format, and we're going to be looking at 10 movies I feel need a 4K release. There have been nearly 1,000 releases in the 4K physical format so far, and I have over 500 just in my collection, but there's still so many fantastic and revolutionary movies that are not in the format. There's a variety of reasons for that, including maybe they weren't shot at a high enough resolution to even warrant a 4K format. Maybe the movie companies don't think that they would be popular enough to get one yet, or maybe they're in development. But we're going to be taking a look at 10 today that I feel are essential 4K releases, and ones I hope hit the format very soon. The first film I hope gets a 4K release really soon is Drive. Drive is one of my favorite films of all time. Stars Ryan Gosling, and it is a seminal action thriller, and I have no idea why this hasn't come out on 4K yet. It's become a cult classic, and it gets more popular year by year, and I feel like it was shot at a good enough resolution to get a 4K release. Ryan Gosling is one of the highest paid and most popular actors in Hollywood, and this would make a great 4K release. The Blu-ray looks great, but I hope it gets one really soon because I need to add it to my 4K Ryan Gosling collection. It's essential. The next film I hope gets a 4K release very soon is one I think is inevitable at this point. Kate Winslet, Leonardo DiCaprio in Titanic. It's really surprising to me that this hasn't gotten a 4K release yet. It's one of the highest grossing films of all time, and James Cameron's movies typically sell a lot. I mean, Avatar isn't on 4K yet either, so maybe he just doesn't love the format, but he loves technological revolutions, so you'd think he'd utilize the highest format possible. But Titanic is a classic 90s film, and one I think with a little love and care would look great. It was shot on film, and there's enough resolution there, and there's enough quality and data on that film to release it on 4K. And it's Titanic. It would sell millions of copies. Get Titanic on 4K soon. James Cameron, you won't regret it. Next up on my list of films I think need a 4K release is The Godfather. The Godfather is one of the classic mob movies of all time, and it's one that I've never bought on Blu-ray because I've seen it before, because I'm just waiting for that 4K release. I know if I buy a Blu-ray the next month or the next week, they'll announce a 4K release, and I've heard that it's in production, that's being worked on, but there's been no official announcement yet of it, so get The Godfather in 4K. It's one of the greatest movies of all time. That's the no-brainer. Next up is another film that I've never bought on Blu-ray because I thought it was going to get a 4K release sooner than it has, is The Shawshank Redemption. Now, this is one of the classic Stephen King adaptations of all time. Why has it not gotten a 4K release? It's been on cable for the last 20 years. It's a beautiful film. It's one of the most popular movies in the genre. Get it a 4K release at this point. What are we waiting for? People, you like money, right? Money's a good thing. It keeps you going. Get it on 4K. It's not that hard. An era of movies I don't think have enough 4K releases yet is the 1950s. And one of the best movies to come out during that time is the James Dean starring Rebel Without a Cause. Being that it was shot on film, there's obviously enough data to make a 4K release of it. James Dean is kind of a mythical figure in the world of Hollywood, only having produced 3 feature films before he passed away. Rebel Without a Cause is the best film he ever did, in my opinion. So get it on 4K. It'd be a nice classic one to add to the collection, right along with like Casablanca, It's a Wonderful Life, and things like that. So get it a 4K release, Rebel Without a Cause. It would make a great addition to the format. Next up on the list of films that I think need a 4K release is one that when I show it to you, people are going to be like, oh my gosh, that's not on 4K already? How is it not? 4K's been out for like 4 years. And I know I'm right there with you. That's why it's here on my list, and that is the Lord of the Rings trilogy. The Lord of the Rings are probably the seminal fantasy films ever made. And the extended editions are like 4 hours long, and there is where I think the problem lies, because there's a lot to render, there's a lot of special effects, there's a lot of practical effects. It would take a long time to do these transfers, but at this point it feels like they're just dragging their feet. These movies are still popular as ever. They're viewed as classics, so get it on 4K. I mean, I know I'm trying to find a reason why it's not on 4K yet, and it's still really hard for me to find out a way. I mean, this Blu-ray set has sold so many copies. 4K is just a given. People would buy it, they would eat it up like Christmas dinner. So get the Lord of the Rings trilogy up on 4K. I'd be there day one to purchase it, and I know most people who are in the format would do just the same. Next up is a release I think is underrated, and I think gets a bit of the bad end of things, is 2014's Godzilla. Its sequel, Godzilla King of the Monsters, came out and flopped a little bit, and that got a 4K release. And Godzilla made a lot more money. And we got Godzilla vs. Kong coming out next year, I believe, as long as it doesn't keep getting delayed because of COVID-19. Fingers crossed. But get Godzilla 4K release. I hate it when there's gaps in my collection because either sequels or movies that came before it don't get the 4K release, and I just have to sit around with the Blu-ray. It makes me feel incomplete. It doesn't make me happy or fulfilled with my life. So please get Godzilla 2014 a release on 4K. I'd buy it, and I think the practical effects would look good. I think the special effects would look good. Godzilla King of the Monsters looks great on 4K, so I think the first one will look just as good. Another movie I think needs a 4K release is none other than the M. Night Shyamalan movie, Unbreakable. And now the reason I think this needs a 4K release is it's the best in the Unbreakable trilogy, others being Split and Glass. And those both have 4K releases, so where's Unbreakable? It was hard for me to even track down the Blu-ray of Unbreakable. There's Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. Why hasn't this gotten a 4K release? Complete the trilogy. It's another movie I'm annoyed that doesn't complete the trilogy on the same format, so it looks like I have a gap in my collection, but I don't, and I have to tell people that. Come on, help me out, help my sanity. Give Unbreakable 4K release, please. Sometime soon. It would have been great to do when Glass came out, but they're dragging their feet. Get on it. The next entry on my list of 10 movies I think need a 4K release is a newer release, and it's really frustrating to me nowadays when 4K has been a thing for now 4 or 5 years, and new movies come out on home release and they don't get a 4K release, especially ones that are either really popular or would look really good, and that is Robert Pattinson, Willem Dafoe in The Lighthouse. I had to go to a theater in Minnesota to see this movie, and it looks great. Same guy who did The Witch, and it looks phenomenal on Blu-ray, so where's the 4K? I'm still annoyed that I had to buy it on Blu-ray, not 4K. I mean, it looks great and all, and I love having it, but this movie is unique. It's in black and white, and black and white movies look phenomenal in 4K. So I'm still disappointed that it didn't get a release on the format, but they could really rectify that and just put it out on 4K. Do it for me. Do it for the masses. Do it for the glory of our country. Come on, Lighthouse 4K. Anytime soon. The last entry on this list of 10 films I think need a 4K release is a horror classic, maybe one of the best horror movies ever made. That is the original, The Exorcist. This is another kind of like head scratcher, like why hasn't this gotten a 4K release yet? Nice 70s movie, I'm sure it was shot on film, it looks fantastic. This would make a great entry because they love their classics on 4K even if they don't make them look the best. And I think this would look great. And I'm still concerned as to why it hasn't gotten one yet. I mean, we've got The Shining and similar films. Halloween has even come out. But let's get The Exorcist on 4K. It would make a great addition to the horror 4K genre. There you have it. That's my list of 10 films I think need a 4K release. I hope they come to the format soon, and if they do, they'll enter my collection quickly thereafter. My name is Parker Reed. You've been watching PR Media. Thanks so much for watching. You can leave a like, comment, or you can subscribe if you feel so inclined. And remember, above all else, keep supporting physical media. See you next time.